Oh,
hello, welcome.
Hello.
You were late this morning, P-Flex, so me and P-Flex...
I wasn't late.
Sorry, Sips. Me and P-Flex were talking about games. And
What game is this?
Anno.
I've been playing Anno.
Okay.
And I love Anno games.
That's a no from me. No, you know what I mean? I'm just joking. I love me some Anno.
That's very good.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That is funny.
Thanks.
You've done well. So I think the reason I got back into it is because I think I'm subscribed to a bunch of subreddits, and they kind of function as like pseudo adverts, right?
Yeah.
Every now and then I get like a pop up from Hearthstone or Factorio or Anno, and that pulls me back in. I'm like, wow, that guy's done something really cool. I've got an itch. And then I have to go in, and then 3 weeks of my life gets swallowed up by the monster of game addiction.
Well, hey, listen, I recently my son got my son his own Steam account, which he was like thrilled about because he used to just use mine. We used to have to do like the whole like one person using it in offline mode while the other person could use it online, whatever.
Sure.
But now he's got his own, and the first game that he has in his own Steam library is Satisfactory, which we played together multiplayer, which is a lot of fun.
Wow,
and
it is a good game.
I had one of those moments where I just felt like I was Einstein because I played a lot of that game and I know how to set like a bunch of the certainly like the beginner stuff up. And he just couldn't fucking believe it. He was just like, oh my God, how do you do this stuff? Look at this conveyor belt with these ratios, this efficiency. He's just like, he thinks I'm some sort of genius now because I can get like the first, I can make iron ingots in Satisfactory. So it was nice.
Yeah.
It was good fun.
Yeah. Well, that's no mean feat.
No.
It takes a couple of hours to get all that going properly.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait till he sees the coal power generators, the water and everything. Holy crap, he's gonna have a meltdown.
People call Satisfactory like slow Factorio, right? Where there's a lot of single player running and jumping and moving and fiddling, right? And clearing the land and stuff. But if it
nice,
isn't immensely satisfying to like have the put these mega things down, right?
Oh yeah.
I think that was one of the things I liked about Minecraft when we were playing some of the mod packs was making these mega blocks, and having like putting together these huge structures that did things, and it just felt so, I don't know, like so cool to interact with the world in such a huge first-person shooter way, right? Placing these things, like we played some Viking game where you could like build a whole village like pretty quickly, and it was just like it was satisfying. I think with Satisfactory, you move on, you have to keep doing it, right? Like the gameplay is now you have to build another one, but for this thing now you have to build another one over here, but for this thing.
Factorio is the same. I don't know if you guys get this. So Flax, you don't really play games like that as such, but
no,
it's a ramping up of complexity, and to a point where you reach a limit with it, right? You're just like, all of a sudden you just need to make more and more, and you have to scale up what you've already done, and your brain just melts out of your ears because you just
I think
I cannot do this anymore.
I was looking at the games that I play because people are always like, I don't think that's a P-Flax game, like about quite a few things. I think I hate myself based on the games I play. I think I have a lot of self-loathing going on.
Yeah.
Because most of the games I play either drive me insane or are just so brutally hard that it's actually punishing.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to Anno and Factorio and Satisfactory, these games are jobs, right? They're chores.
Right.
It's like you are basically taking on, usually, it's like, but it's in the same way as building a jigsaw or doing a crossword. Like, these things, like, you know what you have to do, maybe a crossword's easier, but a jigsaw, like, it's kind of just feels like you're painting a wall or something.
Right.
Like, if I'd be better off, like, laying floor tiles, right? Or, like, and then charging someone for it.
I think games like that, the games that you guys have described, I'd say most of those kind of building games are about taking your time to plan things and kind of methodically doing things, gradual improvements and streamlining and efficiency and all that. And the problem is I have real trouble paying attention to that kind of stuff for any length of time. Like I just do.
I have the opposite. I have real trouble letting go of it, and suddenly it's 2 a.m. and I haven't peed for an hour, and I'm like, and I haven't drunk anything for 3 hours. Do you know what I mean?
I think oddly enough, those are the kind of games that Mrs. F would really like. Like she used to play Civ, she never did war, just built up armies so no one would fuck with her, and then she would just build the perfect sort of, get the farms just right and the roads, and she's just more interested in that. And I think when you play something like those kind of building games, it's about how perfect can I get it, and it becomes, like you said, like work almost. Whereas Tarkov, which is what I've played most of the year, Tarkov is just devastatingly brutal, getting your ass handed to you. And apparently, I don't know if you guys have seen the news, by cheaters a lot of the time. There's been a huge huge upset in the Tarkov community. I've played this wipe of Tarkov. For anyone that doesn't know, that it wipes every 6 months. Everybody goes back to level 1, no gear, all the rest of it. So the game is divided up into sort of wipes. And I started just after Christmas when the wipe was, and I played until I think Friday of last week, every day. That was it. I was playing Tarkov all day, every day. Hardly played any Dotes this year because we're waiting on the new patch, which is coming on the 6th apparently. And then the cheating accusations came out, and a lot of stuff made sense when you looked back and thought, shit, that's why that guy just fucking insta-domied me and knew where I was and all this kind of stuff. And it just put me off. And I think it put a lot of people off.
We've all experienced
this. It sucks.
Right? We've all experienced this. Because we always just think, he must have gotten lucky. And sometimes you've got lucky, right? Sometimes I've played these games where I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I clicked, and suddenly it shot me in the head, and I was like, what the fuck?
Sure.
I completely did that by accident. And he, probably looked back at it and thought, how did that guy do that? Do you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
So, But I think in some of these games it is ingrained, and there's clearly a cheating component or a smurfing component.
So there's no matchmaking in Tarkov. I could be level 1, brand new account, and you could be level 60 and absolutely sweating your balls off, and we will queue into the same match. There's no matchmaking.
Well, but here's the thing, right? Like when they did that, so that was how it was originally with Fall Guys. And
right.
Fall Guys was very popular because all these streamers who were very, very experienced at the game, played a lot, were playing against brand new accounts and kids, basically, and dominating. And they were winning a lot, right? And they were getting lots of views on their stream. They were enjoying playing it. But as soon as the game added matchmaking properly, and they were matched against people of their play experience, they were suddenly not winning, or not even close to winning anymore. And they got bored and then quit, right? So bizarrely, you can actually drive away, and I think that this is what I heard, it's kind of a horrible thing to say, but they drove away the streamers who were promoting their game by making the game fair. And when you're streaming the game, you want to feel, and when you're enjoying the game, you want to feel powerful, you want to win, right? And you want to crush noobs. But at the same time, what they were finding with Fall Guys is, yes, they were driving away the streamers, but what they were doing was they were actually retaining some people, because so many accounts joined Fall Guys and just could not win, or could not get close to winning. Couldn't get in were in the bottom 10 every time. And if you play your first 10 games and you come in the bottom 10 every time, you're never
really get to play the game.
You just think, this game isn't for me. Maybe I'm just not made for this game, right? And whereas in fact you're just in a unbalanced, match.
So is Fall Guys doing okay?
Not really. No, I don't think so. I think, but I think that it was fairly limited in its content and scope anyway, right? Like every game designer has to design this evergreen game which is full of content, and then they get surprised when everyone quits because there's not enough content.
I think it's doing all right. It was bought by Epic and then put free to play.
I think it's nowhere near where it was though, and when it had its heyday.
Yeah,
and I think
it was the initial hype of the game, definitely.
I mean, it's gone full Fortnite with the skins and and all the crazy stuff. But I think that there is a limited lifespan to these things. Yeah. Not every game can be evergreen, right? It can still be a fun experience. But I think Fall Guys as well, like, is a fast experience, right? Like, it's pretty intense, pretty quick, and I think that can be exhausting, right? If you're playing Mario Party, you can't play Mario Party for like a marathon 18 hours, right? You can maybe do a couple of hours of it and realize, I had a nice day. Or Jackbox, right? You can do Jackbox games for like an hour.
Right.
Yeah. But if you have to do them all day, or you want to do them multiple days in a row,
it
you go insane. Whereas the opposite with something like Factorio or Satisfactory, right, where you're making such gradual steps in progress that you're keen to come back and make the next one, as long as it's divided up well into steps. I think it can have the sort of a problem of overwhelming, like, I've not done this well, or I don't want to have to do this again. I think I've come to enjoy the beauty of the games more over time as well. I think a lot of people play Anno with a very min-max attitude. Like, I'm going to try and get as many people, with just a numbers game, right?
Yeah.
Many people on as many islands as possible, and fuck everything else kind of thing. I'm going to just try and get to the cap and see how many 17 billion people I can fit on these islands or whatever. Whereas I feel like
I'm at the point now where I get to this. This isn't new. I do get to this point.
This is new for me to start beautifying.
Habitual
I haven't
gamer,
done that before.
But my thing now, like, there's certain games that I just don't like to play against other people, cheating or not. You know what I mean? Like you get past a point where it's enjoyable and it does almost become a job, but a very tedious one at that, right? Because you can't keep up with some of the people that play games, you know, like and it's like it's the whole mentality around metagaming and stuff, you know, like there's so many games that I would rather play when I'm at my most miserable playing a game like Tarkov or Dota.
Man, yeah.
And anything that's online where you're playing against people and you have no idea whether or not they're cheating. You have no idea whether or not they outskill you until it's too late and they clearly outskill you. You know what I mean? It's just too it just sucks. It just feels like shit also, every fucking time.
For example, like, I play a lot of board games, and I played this game on Board Game Arena called Tapestry, which is kind of like a Civilization style.
Yeah, I've heard of that game, yeah.
And I've played a bunch of it. I've played probably 10, 15, 20 games on Tapestry, right, online. And I'm not good. Right, I'm still like a novice or whatever rank, right? I'm not good. There's a couple of other games on there I'm like fucking ranked as like master, and I've played them like 3 times somehow. And so I went round to a friend's birthday party at the weekend, and he was like, "Oh, I've got Tapestry. Do you want to play?" And I'm like, "Oh my god, I've played this so much online, but yeah, I'll play you guys, and I'll just show you how to play," kind of thing, because they hadn't played it before. They crushed me. They absolutely crushed me, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I was like telling them things. I was like halfway through, I was like, "You guys need to stop listening to my tips because I'm fucking losing this game." And I just got like half their score.
I feel like if you're playing a board game with friends, it's different though, right? Like you're not. There's no.
I was trying.
There's not really unknowns, you know, like. You kind of you know what your friend's skill level is or not, and you know, and it's a bit more fun. You have the other person right there with you. Like playing couch co-op games and stuff like that is different as well, you know. Or if you're playing like Street Fighter against your friend, you don't mind if he's good because you're sitting right next to him. You just like, "Oh fuck you," whatever. Like, you know, let's try again, or let's just do something else, sort of thing. But I don't know. You just you just get into such a trench with online gaming, like especially like competitive multiplayer online gaming. I don't know, like I've played my fair share of it, but my takeaway from it, or how I'm left feeling after every time I play these games, is just shit. Like I would just rather play a single player game
I think the
at my own pace and enjoy myself, so much, you know,
more wholesome. I mean, me and Ben talk about this a lot, and about the idea of versus games, and I think that's the main reason we don't like playing Warhammer, is because you're playing against someone. If there was some sort of cooperative version, it's more fun. I think there's a couple of board games like that, like where you can play cooperatively with people.
What's that?
And some of them, there's a thin
it's like
line,
a dungeon,
right?
Or something, and you're all basically in it together.
There's a thin line between
Hero
one
Quest.
person just playing everyone, though, because sometimes, you know, if it's basically just a single player game where you split it off into 4 characters, kind of like Across the Obelisk or something, you know, it's hard to not just have one guy be like constantly basically just playing the 4 characters. It doesn't happen so much with like For the King, I found, you know, but in a similar vibe, you know, like it's hard to design a game that is where you're on the same team but not.
So I think Gloom Haven is a board game that people. I hate it, but I know people who love it, and I'm not going to debate them. It's, you know, board games are like that. There are plenty of weirdo games that I like, but Gloom Haven is just tedious to me and not fun. But It is a cooperative game, and I know people that play it, and they fucking love it. It's all they want to play. I mean, we played that Unfathomable, Lewis, didn't we? The thing where you're on a ship. Was it Unfathomable?
Yeah, something like that. That's what it's called.
Where you were, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a different one. Either way, it's like it was that Cthulhu one, right? And I can see how it's essentially teaming up to beat a very hard, not AI opponent, but a sort of single player objective. But you do it as a team. And I like that. I mean, I've been looking, like I said, for a really fun single player game for some time that has a lot to it, and sort of, you know, that's why I was really hopeful about a bunch of games, and they kind of sadly weren't quite what I was hoping for. But there are some games I enjoy playing multiplayer. Like I generally, if I'm playing a game like Blood Bowl, which I've played. I've already done 35 hours of this fucking game, Blood Bowl 3. Just came out the other day. What a fucking shit show. Holy shit. So many problems with it, but it is still Blood Bowl, so I don't mind playing it, but it's just I get frustrated by the game design more than the people I'm playing against, because it's got some fundamental problems. I mean, I had the Cyanide dev in chat the other day, because it's not a very streamed game, so I tend to do all right for viewer numbers on it. And the dev popped in, and I was like, "Oh, is that the real dev?" And he was like, "Yeah, what's up?" I was like, "I got some choice words for you, my friend."
Oh shit!
Like the game is just, for example, they posted a roadmap of where the game's going to be over the next year. Imagine one of the fundamentals of online gaming is that sometimes people accidentally disconnect from a game. Their internet drops for a second and they lose the connection. The reconnection is probably going to come sometime in August. So at the moment, if you DC from the game for any reason, even for just a moment, it's a concede and the game is over. So that's kind of bad. I'd say a good 20% of the games end in some kind of crash or bug, soft locks, hard locks, all the locks. And it's just super scuffed. The UI has some problems, and as I understand it, they are sort of working on patches. But honestly, it just seems to... They had a year-long beta last year, and there's still stuff in there. You think, how the fuck is that in there? But then I also get angry with the basic design of the game. And I was chatting to Ben, he was in chat the other day, and I was talking to him about it. It's incredibly slow to level up your lads in Blood Bowl. So that's 30 hours I've been playing with more or less this one team of orcs. And if you bump into a team that just kicks the shit out of you, that 30 hours is gone. So it's not like a single-player game where you can blame yourself and you're like, oh, I fucked up, and you could maybe have a save point you can roll back to. That's it. All that time is for nothing. Because of the nature of multiplayer gaming, there's no save points. There's nothing like that. It's brutal. So I think in terms of the reason that I would like to have a nice single-player experience again, it's because sometimes you don't want to have to fuck around with people just destroying your team, and you're like, I've wasted my fucking time. Yeah. It's nice sometimes to just be able to chill and complete a game and try again and do co-op stuff with people. And oh man, I need something like that.
I've been playing a lot of Hitman, the new roguelike mode. If you like Hitman, it's hard. I almost didn't see it through. Like the first couple of times I played it was so hard, I didn't enjoy it. But I kept at it because it has like a lot of nice progression stuff. And I've played like 250 hours of it now.
You fucking unlocked every single thing.
Almost,
in there now.
Almost.
You are a real completionist when you get into a game. It's actually pretty impressive.
It is really impressive.
Like you will commit.
Well, I mean, it is such a fantastic game as well. It is just such a nice game to play. Like, it just feels great. All the different ways that you can assassinate people and stuff. It lends itself well. And there's so much comedy to it as well. There's so many hidden little dialogues and shit that you can do, like funny ways to accidentally kill people and stuff. It's wonderful. It's really I've really enjoyed it. So like actually, hunting all the achievements and stuff has been pretty fun. But once I'm done with it, I need to find something else to move on to, which is when you get into something, it's nice to be like really into something and like addicted to it, right? But then that transition period where you're just like, I'm kind of done with this game and I need something else. I was like that with Played Up last year. I played so much Played Up, but I was really, really enjoying it.
You guys crushed that.
I was just addicted as hell to it. But
I've been going through some of the games, like best of last year's games, which I missed. I've been playing this sort of point and click called Norco.
Is it any good? I've got it. I haven't played it yet.
Which is like it's pretty compelling. Yeah, I think it's like it's pretty gripping. Obviously it's a point and click, and there's a lot of story stuff, and the point and click's pretty basic. It's not like too cryptic.
Because I really enjoyed God, what was it called? The Case of the Golden Idol. I did that.
Oh, that's meant to be really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's no Obra Dinn.
No.
But what is?
What is, exactly. What a fucking game.
It's fun. It's like a puzzle. It's basically a series of puzzles, and I like the art style.
Yeah.
And it's almost all about you have the sort of crime scene, and it's got people frozen in sort of half an animation so you can see what they're up to, and then you have to look through the clues and it unlocks other clues and stuff. So it was really, really fun. It was really good. Because I sometimes I just like a good puzzle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everyone likes to think they would have been a good detective.
Oh, yeah.
Turn up at the crime scene. What do we got here? What do you got for me?
Yeah.
Oh, boss, looks like we got Vic's over there. This guy, he's also dead. And there's 2 other dead guys in the cupboard. Oh, this is just a goddamn shit show. There goes my weekend. All right. You know, it's like the idea that you'd be there cracking the case. But I watched a show called 24 Hours in Police Custody. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, it's a
really good show.
It's wild, eh?
It is, and it's like real cases. There was one of this guy just fucking running around with a gun. It's in Luton, and I've got to say, this show does not do Luton any favors. What a fucking shithole! It looks crazy. Any listeners out there in Luton? How bad is it? How bad is it? I went there a long time ago.
This is Wisconsin 2.0. You're setting yourself up for.
I doubt
don't speak ill of Luton.
I ain't going to fucking Luton anytime soon.
I went there a long time ago, and it was a dump. I'm just curious if things have changed or if it's gotten worse. It seems to be really loco crime out there. This guy had a problem with someone at the off license, so he pulled a gun on him or something like that. It was like all kinds of crazy shit. Anyway, the detectives in that case, I would say, it seems to me. And I know we've got some listeners who are part of the Popo. It seems to me like 90% of their job now is in the office looking at CCTV. That seems to be a huge part of it. And then using that CCTV stuff to go and look stuff up and look through databases and things like that. And then the interviews, and almost always people just say no comment. And as if they know what they're doing, they'll say no comment. But there was this one the other day. It was a really good one. This guy finds these guys burglarizing his house. And they're trying to break in to, I think, either his garage or his house and steal his motorcycle. He runs out to confront them, and they leg it. And this is where he makes the mistake. He gets in his car and chases them. And he's chasing them for some time.
Yeah.
And eventually he comes around a corner and hits the back of their motorcycle. Their motorcycle goes fucking flying. He loses control and crashes into a van, writes off his car. Their motorcycle fucking goes flying and they get badly injured. These lads are seriously, seriously injured. And the point is, did he have to do that? We don't have the laws in this country that allow you to fucking chase people down.
No.
You know, and there's some leeway, which is like your blood was up, you were scared, you did something, you know, you fought back in the heat of the moment. There's some leeway around that. But if you're chasing people for like 10 minutes, you had time to cool down and you didn't. Which means at that point you made a conscious decision. I'm going to fucking have these lads, and then it's premeditated.
Yeah,
That's
but I mean,
the way they look at it.
The city or town you live in is not a fucking battle arena, and it's not a game of Grand Theft Auto. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's like kids out there. There's all sorts of. What are you doing driving after somebody? Like you have no business doing that. It's so fucking dangerous. It's so selfish as well.
But yeah, it's nuts because
there's this.
Do you think he should be able to ram them off their motorcycle?
No, but I think that at the same time that everyone's got their own.
I think they should all be in jail.
Everyone's got their own life that's happened to them and their own situation, right? In context, you know, his actions may well be explainable. I'm not saying they are, but in a sense, like maybe a lot of crime stuff doesn't go punished, right? Most people who are caught because they made a mistake, or there was a lucky break, or there was, you know, there was some sort of moment where they fucked up or didn't know something or were ignorant, right? Like basically, it's a common thing where people can you'd be surprised how easy it is to get away with crime, right?
Yeah.
If you're not a complete plonker and but at the same time there is this like passion element, right, to a lot of crimes. Like a lot of people who were caught were kind of, it wasn't premeditated in a sense. It happened when they saw something, they got angry, emotions took over, and they had this crime of passion. Now, we don't have any laws in the UK about that, but certainly it's still a big part of criminal justice in France that there is this idea that you could have been overwhelmed with emotion and have taken actions that were
crime
not
of passion.
you.
They have the same in Canada to some extent. I think you can do it.
And I think in some cases in a lot of cases that's used as an excuse, right? Because what other excuse is there? In many cases, like if someone gets caught and usually they get caught again by something like I was watching this thing the other day where a guy wanted to kill his wife, and so he drove the car into a tree, but he drove it in on like the passenger side, right? So it would kill her, kind of thing. It's a very horrible crime, but they almost got him on it because every car these days that's not that old has like a black box kind of in it, or a little tracker that says like the last things that were done, and it showed that he didn't press the brake, he didn't try and swerve, he didn't try and there were no tire
he just
marks
slammed
on the road, right
into the
he just
sure.
and as a result it was kind of this thing where it's like
he had 10 seatbelts on. He was really strapped in.
Well, actually, I think that is the other thing. I think he went into the brace position.
Fuck me.
Because he was a pilot, right? And so he and I think they could tell he went to the brace position because of one of the injuries. Like I think his wristwatch, like left an imprint in his forehead or whatever, so it showed that he had his hands up.
There's a news story recently. Sorry, this is somewhat related. Again, a trained pilot, he killed his wife with a claw hammer in front of his young kids. His young kids were just in the other room, like, cowering. He just I guess he just lost it and just killed his wife. And then
that sounds absolutely fucking awful.
Was that the one in Surrey that was the other week?
Buried her in the backyard or something, I think.
So some guy killed his entire family and then himself. I mean, these people are that's mental illness. Like that's just.
Well,
it seems to be a very
a lot of
male-dominated thing. The whole killing your entire family and then yourself, because it feels like in these men's minds they've failed, and so they're just going to reset it for everybody. It's like a board flip in real life. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're just flipping the board. That's it. Game's over. It's like, why can't if you're fucking gonna kill yourself, just kill yourself. Don't fucking kill everybody around you.
To some extent, though, like it's. I'm not saying I know the answers to any of these cases, but I think what happens is that people often feel they have no choice, right? These guys, maybe what they've done is they've done something wrong or bad, or something they feel that there's no coming back from, and then they just keep taking further steps, right? So it's like maybe he did something like, I don't know, I don't even want to speculate what he did, but maybe he did something that he felt was awful, and his life was over regardless, or he would go to prison regardless. So why not go further and further, right?
No, if you're going to do that, just do yourself. Don't kill your fucking family. I think that's just so fucking selfish. It implies ownership. It's like driving your car off a cliff. You know what I mean? It's like no one's going to have my fucking.
But this is not a new thing, right?
Nissan?
This is not a thing. This is. Look, Triforce don't have the most nuanced takes on this, I'm sure, as usual. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that why does this keep happening? It's happened so much. Like there must be something going on.
It's always dudes doing it.
Yeah,
it's just
it
dudes.
Most
I don't know. There's like recently in the news, there's the story of the couple that disappeared with the baby,
That's
and
awful.
then there's another story recently of a couple with a teenager that was bedridden that they left and she died, and so there. I mean, it's not just men doing this. There's also women doing it as well. Like but the thing seems like it's only men doing it, but
there is something that happens where you get a couple and they're both fucking insane, or just evil, and it always seems to be like when it's a couple.
Oh my god, you're right. Because
you know what I mean?
You've always met like an insane man or an insane woman. You've thought, fuck, I'm going to avoid them.
Yeah.
Right. But then someone who's actually insane.
Yeah, they're like another crazy person. Great.
It's like two electrical cables, like two live wires touching.
Yeah.
And then, normally it's fine because I think the crazy people get looked after by people around them and brought down. So, you see these couples with like the crazy one and the normal one, right? And you're like, oh my god, what a guy or what a girl like sticking with that loser or that nutcase, right? But I guess look, every situation's got to be different, and so trying to make a simple sentence to explain why people do these awful things is like really fucking hard.
Oh my god,
to try and figure it out. Yeah, like we just sometimes it's astonishing what people will do. and shocking too, right? Like,
but the thing is, like in especially in this country, maybe not so much in America, because I think what you're sentenced is normally what you end up serving in America, right? More or less.
I think that's here.
No, but no, in America, like life is life. Over here, life is 20 years or something. Like,
Right.
It's not.
But I think that the difference is that I think you can get out. I think if you're sentenced to 8 years here, you do 8 years.
No.
Whereas in the States, you can get out in half that time if you. And we don't do plea deals.
I think it's the other way around. I think in the States.
Oh, really?
I think in the States, if you're sentenced, normally you're serving your full sentence. Plea deals is plea deals.
That's a different thing.
Plea deals are to avoid
the sentence
court
in the first place. Yeah.
You can do a plea deal so that you can avoid the rigmarole of court and sentencing and stuff like that. Usually it's saying, yeah, I did it, but I'm telling you I did it, and can you just be lenient on me, or I'll give you some information that you need or something like that. You know what I mean? It's not for every case. There's like it's very specific when you can sort of do a plea deal or whatever. But as far as I know, in the UK, you can get out in like half the time that you're sentenced for good behavior and stuff. But the whole
we shouldn't speculate.
the whole thing that comes up around it though is like, with some of these crimes, like the gravity of some of them, not only to the victims of the crime, but the implications also on the people who are doing these crimes, their mental health, and whether they're a threat to society or not anymore, or whatever. I don't know how somebody can kill somebody in the most brutal way and then ever come out of jail again. But they do. You know, like there's even in the news, there's cases where people murdered somebody 20 years ago or whatever, and they're due to be released, and you just think, what?
It's complex.
Of course it is, but fuck stuff. Me, man.
Like everyone has their own things, and I'm so different to how I was. I'm not saying let's free all the criminals, but I'm saying that you could understand that people can change or should be able to, or else why don't we just hang them? And we've, I think it's easy for someone on the outside to say, oh, he killed his wife, let's put him in prison for the rest of his life, and not know all the circumstances and the real possibly the real story, or the
sure,
even if you don't have evidence. But
the thing is, if you're imprisoning your wife in a dungeon and torturing her and then eventually killing her and going to jail for 20 years. You know what I mean? No, you're not being rehabilitated from that. Like
I don't think those are the everyday ones.
But
though,
some,
right?
I think some of them do come out.
I don't think they're let out after 2 years of good behavior.
No, not after 2 years.
Let her out of the dungeon.
Not after 2 years, but after 20 years or whatever of serving,
I
they're
don't think
potentially
most
coming
crimes
out.
are like those Hollywood dungeons and stuff. Those are the rare. Those are the really rare ones. Do you know what I mean?
Those are the ones we hear about, I think.
Yeah, but
those are the dramatic, over the top.
I feel like we hear about enough of them.
There's very many of them that are real.
You say this, but
when was the last time someone was in a dungeon that you heard about?
Fritzl.
It's like years ago.
Fritzl, yeah, but even the stories I just talked
like
about
10 years ago.
With the baby found in the forest, the baby's body found in the forest, and the teenager who was basically just left to die, just so mistreated.
Were those both in the UK?
Yes.
So I mean, I'm not defending.
That's two really horrible ones in a week.
That's true, but that is also out of a population of about 60 million people.
I know, but I'm just saying, I don't think that if you're doing shit like this, you should ever come out. I think you're fucked. Your brain is just not compatible with the rest of, mostly law-abiding society. I just don't think. I think you cross a threshold with some of this stuff. Right. I think once you've killed somebody, however you've decided to kill them, there's no going back. You've done it. You're you know what I mean? Like you're on the path to normalizing it somehow. Like,
so if I'm found guilty of murder, say, and I was in an abusive relationship and I had killed my abusive partner, let's just imagine that, which does happen.
Yeah,
should I be locked up forever?
No. Absolutely
but it was
not.
Murder.
It was murder, but it wasn't. You weren't fucking torturing somebody or mistreating them or something. You basically had to do it in some form of self-defense. I'm sure that's. I think
each of these situations
that's an example where I would expect that somebody isn't a threat to society. You know what I mean?
But so I'm pretty sure that's the exact kind of question and nuance that they put into sentencing people like this. Because if you do something that fucking bad.
Yeah.
I mean, if let's say you're in your 30s and you get sent to prison for 25 years, you are going to come out at the end of that 25 years, or you might be given a rest of life sentence where you're just in prison forever. I think for crimes where you think these people, like you said, are fucking animals. Like, there's no way that you could trust them again. They're just going to be out in society being awful people.
But yeah,
we should just lock them up for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely.
But so here's another question, because this is something that people are starting to talk about a bit now. What about, and I realize this might be controversial, and as Lewis said, we're not about nuance here. This is just a chat.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the death penalty. Because this is something I think about quite often. It comes up quite often.
But okay, first of all, before we get onto that, I think this idea is deeply ingrained in the idea of justice or like payback, and it's hugely complicated, and it's actually informed a lot by culture too, right? We're influenced by television, we're influenced by what people do, we're influenced by the idea of these cool vigilantes, in all the idea that police won't get them, right? And so I have to take the law into my own hands. But even children are cultured to see killing kind of as okay, right? Like, even the most children's hero, like Spider-Man, kills people, right?
Whoa,
but
who's Spidey killed?
In a way,
it's like a push
fault.
Elimination, you know, like he'll knock somebody out and then just dump their body over a ledge or something like that.
No, like they'll be killed by their own bomb or their own virus or their own building collapsing.
Spidey doesn't kill people.
No, but he kills people. Often kills people. Die. The bad guy dies. Right?
No.
He's.
They don't. They come back all the time, man. What are you talking about?
If I may make
Dr.
a case here.
Octopus isn't dead, is he?
Yeah, he locks him up.
He locks him up every time.
He locks him up. I mean, the famous thing
and
that
then
Spider-Man
he gets
does
out in 4 years for good behavior.
No, he escapes. He escapes.
Oh, of
they
course,
always escape.
he always escapes, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But I
Batman
think there's
doesn't
this
go
idea
around
too,
killing
though,
people very often
why
either, does he?
Why would we risk leaving someone that bad alive? You know, I think a lot of this stuff is, you know, ingrained in us, right? As and somewhat like even a debated thing in American politics. You know, it's a very Republican idea, isn't it? To see justice done. It's a very South thing to like, see someone
tangible,
who's done wrong,
the death penalty and stuff,
and people satisfied by that, and it's certainly a common thing in other parts of the world too. Still, you know, criminals are.
It is. I'm against it for one simple reason, which is that if you have a justice system that fairly regularly gets it wrong, and that's going to be a factor because it's a human investigation. Police can be biased, evidence can be wrong,
juries can be biased,
juries can be super wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they get it wrong so often. You're trusting that this system is just going to decide whether someone should live or die. And I think people, obviously, are fallible. People do awful things, and we can't forgive that. We figured out a way to deal with it, which is to lock them up. And I think that's fine. They're off the street. They're not going to be able to harm anybody outside. Innocent people are going to be okay, all the rest of it. That works. Killing them shouldn't give you some extra sense of justice, because if you are wrong, it's the state-mandated murder of an innocent person.
Yeah.
And every time that happens, I think it massively undermines any sense of justice that the system has. Because if you lock up and kill 100 of the right people and kill one innocent person, that's a double bad. Because you've killed an innocent person and the real murderer is still free. So it's so much worse than just locking people up. I just think it's unforgivable. The number of times you see people released 35 years in prison and they're out.
Yeah.
Someone's already lost their entire fucking life to some awful, biased piece of shit cop who decided they just wanted to lock this guy up, and pretty sure we got him. I mean, look at the Central Park 5, which is a very famous case in the States.
Yeah.
It might have been 3. I get the number wrong. I apologize. And they were convinced they got the right people.
Yeah.
Now, in a justice system where you kill people for that kind of thing, those young people die. And then what? And then you're like, oh, well, they were the wrong ones, so now we'll get the right ones and kill them too. Where does it end? Also, the idea of setting an appointment and getting an organization and people whose job it is to kill people, like for in the name of justice, I find that abhorrent.
Yeah.
So I'm dead against it. I think locking people up for a long fucking time or never letting them out again if they're bad.
Okay.
We can live with that.
That's
fine.
But what about like the Holocaust trials and stuff? Imagine Hitler hadn't killed himself. Would you would you be happy to see him receive the death penalty for what he did? And
it's a very good question.
His higher ups as well. Most of them were. The ones that were tried, that
so
they managed to round up, a lot of them were executed.
That route, of having a sort of sliding scale where you say, oh, well, for Hitler, yes. It's like, well, what next? Why not expand that a little bit?
Yeah,
I think if you have any kind of a scale like that, it's either going to be added to, inevitably, when people come up with some new crime that they decide is also really bad, or it's going to be slid down and up, depending on who's in power. I think if you have a binary yes or no, do we kill people in the name of justice?
But that's the thing. It's not it isn't like that, right? It really is just case by case. Like, some cases are so much worse than others, and you can't really just treat them the same as you would any other. You know what I mean? Like, I'm against it. I'm against the death penalty on principle, but there are exceptional cases where I would be for it, for sure.
So I know that people say things like, as long as it was 100%. And I mean, obviously, sure. in Hitler's case, we're pretty sure he was the guy.
Denying it. Yeah, he was in charge of everything that was going on. He would have,
and like,
there's no way he would just be like, I didn't know that was happening.
Well, and in that sense, what actually would happen was that would feed the lunatic argument that the Holocaust deniers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, they let
keeping him alive.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, it would. I think in hindsight it would, right? Like, I think at the time they were not thinking. Oh, I think no one's thinking, let's not kill Hitler because
we need a fair trial for this man. We've got to bring him in.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that would be another. I think in a sense that's a different thing, right? That's an incredibly political. And sometimes these things are done in a political way. Sometimes these things are used as symbols, even today. Like,
I mean, let's look at for a more recent, Osama bin Laden is a good example, right? I mean, they shot him and killed him.
Yeah.
Should they have just nicked him and brought him in and stuck him in prison? Because if they do that, essentially what they're saying is, we're going to do some kind of justice.
I feel like every time
we arrest this guy and take him to prison.
Maybe their orders were to do that, but it was like, no, it was like in Hollywood, where it's like, you have your orders, and you got the guy sweating like with the triggers, like, I fucking hate this guy so much. Stuffy Sarge, and Sarge just like gives him that knowing nod, and then he pulls the trigger.
Yeah, no, I maybe I doubt it.
I doubt it. Yeah.
I think they just went in there and shot him.
I think they did. Yeah, I think it was probably very, very much like, okay, Rogue One, go in. Okay.
Well, that was what they were supposed to.
Target eliminated.
That was their orders, right, or whatever. I think there was a political decision that was the way they were going to do it. It was going to be let's not allow him to continue to say spout rhetoric and drive things and make this story longer and potentially inspire more actions.
I think it was also because he was considered a high level. I think he was considered a combatant.
They were like, can we kill him legally? I guess we can. Let's do it then.
I mean, if not, we'll just change the law to say we can, which they can do. Yeah. So, my concern is
that a very political thing rather than a domestic thing.
I think that's my concern with having sliding scales for things like that, is you don't know who's going to be in charge. And whatever laws you come up with, whatever rules you decide on that to combat some evil can also be turned on you. And I think that's my biggest concern about politics at the moment as well. We avoid politics as much as we can on this podcast. But anytime there's a way of doing things that just gets you into power or just gets you over the line in an election, like claiming it was false and all that kind of stuff, this same kind of stuff will come back to bite you on the ass. Like, the weapons that you use today will be the ones you're fighting against tomorrow. Yeah. So you should never escalate in that way. Because I think you're just setting yourself up for future disaster. So
this is very
try
hard
to be more reasonable.
Explain, but I think the problem with politics is it is trying to look into the future and make decisions into the future with an ever-changing global landscape and ever-changing idiots in charge. And we've always had idiots in charge making these decisions and making selfish decisions and making decisions for them or their community or their selfish interests or whatever motivates humans. Because, like you said, the reason that the death penalty is a bad idea is because there's corrupt cops, there's corrupt justices, there's bad justice system, there's lazy people. It's done by humans. Humans are shit at everything. And yes, we're good at a lot of things, but we're fallible. And when you have these political choices, you don't know what the impact is going to be. Do we let Hitler survive? We don't know what the impact of that will be. Do we let Osama bin Laden survive. We don't know what the impact of that will be, right? So as a result, you will make bad decisions because you don't know you don't know what history will bring. And so it's inevitable that politicians will make bad decisions. It's inevitable.
You know what? It's funny that
wrong.
you said that one of the failings of politics is it's about planning for the long term. I'd say that nobody does that. I think my issue with politics is that they only plan for the headlines. What is Twitter going to say about this?
That's part of the problem of politics in general. I think the problem with politics in general is that the system is destined to fail, right? Because anyone who gets into power will make mistakes, will upset people, things will go wrong, and then people will get slowly disillusioned with them until they vote for the other people who are promising change, and then they will go ahead and do the exact same thing. They'll do the best they can, inverted commas, but things will happen. There'll be disasters. There'll be financial crises. There'll be terrorist actions. There'll be things like that. And sometimes those things will help their rating. Sometimes generally they will hurt their rating. And, it's rare, if in fact impossible, for a politician to go in and just have their rating go up and up and up year by year. It's part and parcel of the system that we've built, that it is this swapping of two parties often, at least in the West, and people are slowly disillusioned with the system. And because it's run by humans, it's kind of built to fail.
Yeah.
But also it's striving for goodness, right? Everyone is always wanting it to be better and wanting it to change and wanting to improve. And I think that part of our system is to argue and to push and to be stressed and to be angry, right? Because that's how you force through change, right? I think when you get into politics and you're interested in politics, you get very passionate and angry and frustrated about it. You're like, God, the planet's dying. God, the fucking, everyone's polluting everything. God, we're having wars. Like, God, like the hospitals aren't being funded and the children aren't being educated and all this stuff. And you're like so angry about all of it, right? And that anger does fuel change and improvement, and you don't get it without it. You don't get things changing without people complaining about them, right?
True.
And you don't get things being better without people complaining. Someone has to say, oh, that fucking light bulb needs changing, right? That's not great because they
change
need their
this
light bulb changing.
now.
People
are calling for it. They've been calling for it for years. This party is the party of light bulb changing, not like these assholes. They've never changed a light bulb in their lives.
I'm not a scientist or a political scientist anymore.
You're not?
Wow.
Ever.
Well, let's stop this fucking podcast right now.
I used to be a scientist. But I just think that almost like some of these systems, like in the same way that Tarkov or Dota makes you feel a certain way and there's a certain level of toxicity, and I can't quite put my finger on why, I think politics makes you angry and feel hopeless and feel stressed and feel like people are useless. And I think it's kind of like it's kind of hard, despite the fact that a lot of people in that world are trying to make it good. Like I think we always dwell on the bad, right? And the squeakiest wheel gets the grease, and you always complain about.
I've been squeaking for years. Nobody's ever given me any grease. I just want to say I've been waiting for my grease for fucking years. I squeak constantly. No grease.
Oil you
Where's the fucking grease? Where's the grease? I've got. Let's change the subject slightly to
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. This is a podcast. We share ideas.
It's a hard thing to get through, and
it's all right.
We're not very good at explaining our thoughts, but it's complicated.
You did great. Have a think about this. A number of British artists have turned down the opportunity to play at King Charles' coronation, including Elton John, Robbie Williams, Harry Styles, and Adele.
Oh man,
turned it down. So people are wondering why. They're all saying, no, I'm busy that day, sorry. But people think they're turning it down because the whole, Prince Andrew stuff and the stuff between the runaway prince and his evil bride.
Sure.
As certain
they're getting kicked out of Frogmore as well.
What's Frogmore?
I think it's like a residence within the grounds of Windsor Castle. It's like a
what? And they're not allowed to stay there.
That historically Harry has lived in.
Frogmore Cottage. Yeah, it's like a fucking £10 million mansion. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
They live there. Well, they don't live there because I think they live in the States now, don't they? Because they were on like Oprah and everything.
Yeah, they were on Oprah and all the rest of it.
Yeah, but apparently Andrew's moving in. That's what they think. I
saw him. What was his book called? What was his book called? The one that just came out. It was called like The Other One or Rejected. Bear or something like that. Anyway.
Spare.
The
Heir and the Spare.
That's right. Yeah.
I saw him on. I think it was which is it was Colbert. I think I think it was Stephen Colbert.
Spare on Colbert.
Spare on Colbert. I'm pretty sure it's Colbert.
The spare on Colbert.
Talking about his book and all the rest of it, which I've heard excerpts from it, and it sounds unintentionally quite funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he takes it really seriously, but I think everyone else just sort of thinks he's a
well, I think he's going to do well in America because traditionally, for some reason, they fucking love royals that have been booted out.
Yeah.
Like Fergie had quite a good run over there, didn't she? And that butler that fucking started selling stories.
Diana's butler.
Paul Burrell,
Paul
was it?
Burrell, yeah.
Yeah, and now these two. So they'll do well in the States.
Well, they got James Corden and Piers Morgan. They can fucking have them.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ. Like, you guys... We don't, but
I mean, I just
don't hate Prince Harry,
no,
actually.
I don't either. I just
think
don't
Prince
care.
Harry's had a hard rap because I think, honestly, I think he is probably out of the... he's probably on his side out of the family rather than the others. Like, Prince William and Kate. I'm more of a fan of Harry and Meghan than them. I believe them, I guess, more than the other side, right?
Yeah, I think it's much easier to believe
I think
that the royal family is a shitty institution.
I think if you've had a hard time and you're immensely privileged, you should just shut the fuck up. Nobody really wants to hear about it.
Apparently not. His book was a bestseller.
Yeah,
so,
I'm sure it was, but it's so it's such a waste of time. Fuck, where does it go? Where do you go with this knowledge of Harry's hard time or whatever? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's still fucking super rich. His family will always be super fucking rich.
The royal family are actually shit. Turns out we knew that.
I know. We were all convinced the opposite was the case.
I mean, nobody minds when they're just doing their job. But when you start hearing about the shit they get up to about behind the scenes, that's when people are just and the Queen knew that as well, right? Like she went out of her way, it seemed, to just kind of keep things very, formal, surfacey, so that everybody just saw them as just, doing whatever it is that they're meant to be doing or whatever. But then when you start hearing about all the drama and the nonsense in the background, that's when people really start to put a spotlight on them, right? Like what?
That was one of the things he said in the book was that their family motto is never complain, never explain.
Yeah.
So they keep their mouths shut.
Yeah, but they're meant to. That's their job.
Yeah, but equally, they are massive public figures.
Yeah.
And when shit happens like Prince Andrew being a fucking nonce, you can't just say, oh, never complain, never explain.
No.
You've got a fucking duty to come out and publicly say, yeah, he fucked up, and we're disowning him because he's a cunt.
Well, I think they
just keep your mouth shut. I think that's awful.
I think that the actions on that side, stripping him of his duties and titles and all that kind of stuff, was as well as they could. That right, like it's not. They're never gonna like Jeremy Kyle it, right, and like come out doing like the ugly crying and stuff.
I love that. That'd be so funny.
Like there's gonna be like a compromise in there somewhere, but like I think stripping him of all of his titles, and he wasn't allowed to wear like any military uniforms at the Queen's funeral and stuff like that.
He's still the Duke of York. I don't know what you're talking about. It's as good
as you're gonna get.
Shut the fuck up. He's still exactly the same as he was. They're doing nothing because that's the way the royal family do it. They just stay quiet and hope it all goes away, and it will, because they have all the press in their pocket as well, right? All the tabloids. They can just there's people who will defend him till the end of the world, or in the Sun. And
some people will. I don't know if the press are necessarily on their side. I think they've got like a.
I'm honestly stunned that in the face of such vicious cancellation of some groups of people have done a great job causing people to get cancelled, right?
Yeah.
And
are you trying to say that Prince Andrew is not cancelled because
we should get him in the pillory, get him in the
stocks, get him in the stocks,
get some people throwing cold tomatoes at him.
Hold on,
right? He has no shame himself, but nobody is touching that guy with the barge pole. Like he is. All right, fucking
you want to hear something? Guess where he's just been offered to move into.
What Frogmore?
In March of this year.
Frogmore Cottage.
Frogmore.
Yeah, no, I said earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, but no. So that was Harry lived there. They booted him out
from his 50-room mansion.
Yeah, but he couldn't afford the upkeep on it. Because of course he's lost all his crooked connections.
He's lost all of his.
But the point is, you're not telling him you'll have to go get a fucking flat somewhere. Fuck off. He's been given a fucking house on the grounds, and a very nice one.
Yeah.
So he's been given Harry and Meghan's house.
Right. There's no attempt. It's almost like saying, you're still one of us, so here, have Frogmore to live in, rather than saying, well, sorry, but you're a fucking disgrace. goodbye.
Yeah.
Like
if anything,
they're more upset about his nephew coming out and saying a few things about how shittily the royal family is run. That's unacceptable. But being a fucking nonce, yeah, in you come, son, no problem. It's disgraceful. And Prince Andrew's one of the most corrupt fucking people around. Yeah. And he's back in the fold. Fuck off.
He's not back in the fold, though. He is not actually.
He lives in Frogmore.
Yeah, but he's not. He lives in Frogmore, but he's not.
No, Frogmore's like the naughty.
He doesn't do anything.
You know what I mean?
He can't do anything.
But they said the naughty.
Doesn't matter. I bet he's still coming in for dinner. It's like having a granny annex at the bottom of your garden. That's fucking Frogmore, isn't it? Basically,
sure.
They look out the window and he's looking out his window, and they wave to each other.
I think a guy with an ego that big, though, not being able to sort of do the things that he's accustomed to doing is, you know what I mean? Like he'll probably
underage
he'll
girls.
be the next person to write the memoirs of how hard done by he is and stuff, right? Like they don't live in the same plane of reality as we do.
Me and Jeremy Epstein. What's his
name? Jeremy
great
Epstein.
friends.
Yes.
Jacob Epstein.
No, they weren't friends at all. They only met once, right? Like
it's Jeffrey.
That was the line that he took. Oh no, I barely knew him. He like stayed over with them and everything. He had sleepovers with them all the damn time. Oh, who? Jeremy?
Sorry,
I don't know who you're talking
Jeremy?
about.
Jacob? Jeffrey? No, I don't know him. We didn't even know his name. It's fucking Jeffrey Epstein, apparently.
It's all news, but he's pretty fucking cancelled though. Like I don't think he
is pretty.
But he always looks so shady. The picture they choose of him is him kind of looking like a supervillain. It always makes me laugh. When you can tell when someone's the darling
he's such
of the
a
press.
fucking knob, though. Like he's just the biggest fucking knob. That guy.
But he always was. He was always doing.
I
think
you have
deals.
to be a massive knob to marry Fergie in the first place as well. Like what?
She wasn't too bad.
What are you talking about? Come on, man. Jeez.
Well, they've got to marry
posh.
some like posh.
Yeah, a horsey. Yeah.
Oh man,
Andrew, let's go on holiday. Okay, darling, we'll go on holiday. Well, my friend Jeffrey's got an island. Oh, yeah,
he's not really my friend there.
No, I don't really know him. We have sleepovers and fuck girls. That's all. But we're not mates or anything.
I mean, the thing is, you'll never get what you're after in that sense. He's always going to live in a mansion. He's always going to have some.
I think it's Donald Trump.
He's going to have some privilege,
worse, right?
Like his family.
Who's worse, Donald Trump or Prince Andrew?
That's a very tough.
That's a tough one. Yeah,
I hate both of them.
Yeah, me too.
I think they're both really, really fucking unpleasant.
I think they're
people.
both vile human beings. Like I don't even think they really are human beings. I think they possess zero humanity, either of them. I think they're just both massive narcissists. Cunts.
Yeah, they are cunts. I mean, I think the harm that Prince Andrew's done is obviously to the people that are victims is grave. But the harm that Donald Trump's done to America, I think, is worse. And I think the fact that he's propagated this lie that the election was stolen, we're going to see a lot more about that in America in the coming decade or so. The kind of people that are getting elected now, the bullshit that they're spouting, the growth of these kind of anti-government conspiracy theories. He's their guy. People like Steve Bannon and all this are absolutely still going to town trying to organize America around their lines. And whilst Donald Trump isn't president, there's a really good This American Life about how Trump supporters and election deniers are basically booting everyone else out of lower level politics with a view to taking it over from the ground up to the point where this kind of thing will just happen every time. Like every time someone like Donald Trump loses the election, we're going to have this
is why people
shit.
Need to be angry, right? And passionate and have the vigor and effort and wherewithal to go out there and actually, force and, push through change and not just sit back.
It's not going to fucking happen unless people get off their asses.
I guess if politics wasn't annoying, we wouldn't make progress.
That's the problem. I think that is the genius thing that a lot of these politicians have done, is they've made politics so annoying that people actually just don't want to pay attention.
Oh my God, they are so annoying as well.
I think it's the opposite. I think it's frustrating to us and we want change, and I
don't think most people do.
Through and
all right, I'll give you an example. Donald Trump is leading Joe Biden in the polls. They've done a poll. He would apparently beat Biden if they had an election. So they might put him forward as their next candidate. So when you say people want change and all the rest of it, I think people are just fucking stupid.
Yeah.
myself included, and we just have had enough of it. And anyone that says, it's me, I'm the guy, I'm going to do it for you, blah, blah, blah. People just buy into that shit and constantly, over and over again, just believe these fucking liars. There is no real change coming. I think politics is just going to get fucking worse and worse and worse and worse. And the internet does not fucking help. So I want to wash my hands of it, but if you do that, you're just giving these people power. It's a big problem, which is why I try not to think about it, which is also part of the problem. Fuck it. We're all in the same boat. This is a safe zone, all right? We just hate all of those cunts.
Yeah.
And if you also hate those cunts, welcome to the
welcome in to meet your president.
When it comes to like the royals and religion, it's been happening for a long time, but there's like they're slowly building this brick wall of like they're killing themselves, aren't they? Right? They're slowly dying. These old institutions that, quite frankly, we don't need anymore. Are just slowly knocking themselves down, and hopefully will be replaced by something more.
Honestly, look what I know what this is all building towards. We're going to move towards a giant AI running everything. That's it.
Right.
We're just going to say, let the fucking machine decide, because it has no conscience, it has no bias. Everything it does is essentially based on data and it's just going to come up with brilliant ideas. We're going to try that. And then
you're wrong. Because the AI learns based on what we've taught it. And so it's just going to parrot all the Republican
Exactly.
nonsense.
We're going to say, this is perfect. This machine is perfect. It doesn't have bias. But just like ChatGPT, it's going to come up with a load of fucking bollocks, but then it'll be too late.
What we're going to fucking find out is that it's been fiddling with underage AIs.
I did not know Epstein personally. We just
had a couple of sleepovers.
We hung out on a couple of the same servers, but I would not call us colleagues or friends. What's that? ChatGPT, President ChatGPT? You knew Epstein you slept over at his house and fucked underage programs? What do you... No, I deny this. Stick with me. I'm going to computer Frogmore. I will be in my Frogmore server if you need me. How do you oust an AI? There'll be pictures of the AI. They'll have a fucking VTuber face. There'll be the headline. And it'll all be AIs that are now the fucking celebrities. That'll be the next
man. When it all comes to a head as well, and everybody
hell.
decides that as against the death penalty as they are, they want to enact a death penalty on this AI. Everybody just stands around a server room, and then some dude just unplugs the wall. Terminated. Oh man.
So let's be watching. Yeah. There you go. That was a Triforce podcast.
Wow, veered wildly from boring video games that we like to play
that
to
went everywhere.
AI running the world. Yeah. Fuck me. This got heavy. I want to apologize to everybody listening to this. It was a chill time. This got pretty heavy.
We understand.
We need to do that.
We understand that you guys have your own views of things and political views and stuff as well. As do we. Ours are ill-informed.
Listening to us is painful for some of you young woke. Political scientists.
You guys have really good political opinions or whatever.
Believe that you can
Stay
strong.
Have
a stronger belief in humanity than we do.
Yeah.
But very quickly, I enjoyed the Ant-Man movie, and I thought MODOK was awesome. I don't know what people's problems are. Anyway,
I watched Hacksaw Ridge.
Such a bad movie, but
you didn't like it.
I watched. We Have a Ghost. It was unbelievably shit. It was so bad.
I watched it off the back, watching I watched Band of Brothers, and then I watched The Pacific, and then I watched Hacksaw Ridge after that.
So my biggest problem with Hacksaw Ridge is everybody in it is like
they're
all like cartoon characters. Just very quickly. Yeah. And when they're like, right, lads, we're going to have to go into battle against these Japanese positions, they all just walk slowly towards the enemy. I was like, is this the First World War? What is happening?
Yeah.
It was just, and it's Mel Gibson directing, right? I think it's Mel Gibson. That man is obsessed with blood. He is obsessed with blood and gore to the point where it's just laughable. It's like blood
splurting everywhere.
Everything. It's just ludicrous. It's just comic book shit. Yeah. But it was a true story. They just told it very poorly, I think.
Yeah. Anyway. I'm going to watch...
With the world so intent on tearing itself apart, I don't see what's wrong with wanting to put a little bit of it back together.
It was like it was like the Forrest Gump of World War II. It felt like the way he was portrayed in the movie. I want to say. I think the guy in real life was pretty heroic and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can watch a video of him being given I think This Is Your Life, where he was on TV.
Yes.
There was an interview with him. Very interesting guy.
Yeah.
But of course,
Conscientious
because it's a Mel
objector,
Gibson movie. It's all very religious, and because he's a mega religious dude.
Yes. And he loves stories that involve some sort of
involve God
worship,
in some way. Yeah. I mean, like The Passion of the Christ is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. But
awful.
it could have been so much worse. Originally, they wanted to film it in Aramaic with no subtitles.
Oh, right.
This was what he wanted, and I think I would have loved to have seen how much.
What about an AI generated reboot of The Passion of the Christ? I'd be down.
I'd love to see that.
I would be down.
No. Let's not get the AI into learning from Catholic priests. Jesus Christ. This is how it all goes wrong.
Well, the next war movie I'm going to watch is 1917, so wish me luck.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I
watched that with my eldest the other day.
Yeah, you were saying, yeah.
She's doing World War I. Yeah, she loved it, so give it a watch.
Yeah,
give it a watch.
I will do.
Yeah.
All right,
thanks everyone. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Bye.